All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Kakadash. I want to give double honor to the elder apostles and elder bishop of Great Millstone, who rule well in teaching us the truth 100% securely. And I'd like to give a salutation to the men out there on the highways and byways, pushing the truth throughout the four corners of the earth. And also, I'd like to give a salutation to the Akim and Aqua who are listening and studying to show thyself approved. This is your brother Bayon from the Tulsa, Oklahoma, Hebrew Israelite Camp, coming back to you with another quick lesson. And the title of this lesson is going to be Give Your Burdens to the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Give your burdens to the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And I was pretty much reading from the book of Psalm 55 and 22 in the NLT, which we'll go ahead and read that real quick. And that's what it pretty much inspired this lesson. Give your burdens, all right? Psalm 55 and 22, it says, give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall, okay? And that is Psalm 55 and 22 in the NLT version. And when you cast your burden to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, there's a consistent characteristic you're going to see. It's with the pretty much the hope we elect when they're casting their burdens on Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right? And one of the most obvious characteristics you're going to see is trust, right? They're going to fully trust into Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So even when you read the book of Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 through 6, and that reads, trust in the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, with all thine heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path, right? And so casting your burden is fully putting, your trust into Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. That is one of the characteristics you're going to consistently see with the hopeful elect, okay? With those individuals who cast their burdens onto Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, okay? Another example, another characteristic you're going to see is obedience, right? So obedience is another characteristic you're going to see, and that goes pretty much go back to trust, okay? Not only are they going to trust him, they're going to obey the commandments of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, okay? So even when you go into the generations of old, as you read in Sirach chapter 2, Ecclesiastica, aka Sirach chapter 2 and verse 10, where it says, look at the generations of old and see, did any ever trust in the Lord? Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Let's get that. Ecclesiastica, aka Sirach, chapter 2 and verse 10, and it says, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and were forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Okay, and pretty much we can answer that question, no one, right? No one that trusts in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai was confounded. No one that trusted in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai was forsaken, or none that trusted in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai that was despised. Okay, so that's the beauty in trusting in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai and putting your burdens onto him. Okay, because that's all we need, right? Especially that's all we need. He's going to guide you, and he's going to protect you. Okay, he's everything and above. Okay, and that's the characteristic that you're going to consistently see with the hopeful elect. Okay, so another matter of fact, let's go from there, and let's get one of the generations of old. We can actually just simply go to Hebrew to the 11th chapter, right? Hebrew chapter 11. And we got a couple of examples of generations of old. So we can start at verse 5. Ultimately, this whole chapter we can read, and you'll see the generations of old, and you see the characteristics that they showed why they was trusting in Yahweh Shemi Yahushua, right? They all cast their burdens onto Yahweh Shemi Yahushua, and they was taken care of, all right? Yahweh Shemi Yahushua protected them, okay? He fed them, he clothed them, right? We thought of Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 5, and it says, by faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found because Yahweh had translated him. For before his translation, he had the testimony that he pleased Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. All right, and verse 6 is the important scripture right here. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Okay, another example is Job, right? Job did not waver. He kept his integrity. All right, he patiently waited on Yahweh Shem Yahushua, right? So Hebrews 11 and 7, another example. By faith, Noah, being warned of Yahweh of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heirs of righteousness, which is by faith. Okay, another example, verse 8. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed and went out, not knowing whether he went. Okay, so even Abraham dropped everything and he followed Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And in return, he got the reward. Okay, he diligently seek. Each of these individuals got their reward that they, and Yahweh said he kept his promise. Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua kept their promise. Okay, so when you cast your burden onto Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, things become a lot easier. Okay, so that's another characteristic, is that they obeyed. Okay, we already kind of read that a little bit, is patient. Okay, they definitely had patience. They did not waver. They was willing to, for example, Job, he was willing to wait patiently on Yahweh Shem Yahushua, even when he was, in straits. Okay, he lost his land, he lost his children. Okay, he lost everything, but he patiently waited, and he had no complaints about it. All right. Number 4 is they're going to become humble. All right, they're going to have a humble spirit about them. Okay, that's another thing. When you trust in Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you're going to have a humble spirit. And there's a quick scripture, I'm going to just quote it, where it says, the Lord resisteth the proud, okay? He giveth grace unto the humble, but he resisteth the proud, okay? And so that is another characteristic you're going to see. They're gonna constantly be in prayer, right? So those who cast their burdens on Yahweh Shem Yahushua, they're going to constantly pray. They're going to pray as much as possible, okay? Even when they wake up, before they go to sleep, just randomly walking down the street, they're going to constantly be praying, okay? They're going to have courage, okay? It's another characteristic. They're going to have courage. They're going to be bold, not bold in the sense of proud bold, but it's going to be, it's going to come with humility. It's not going to be reckless, right? That reckless behavior come with proud behavior, all right? They come with pride, okay? But the righteous, they're going to be bold, but it's not going to be frowned upon, if that's the word that I'm trying to get, right? So they're going to basically be 10 toes down, okay? That's another characteristic. They're going to be detached from the world, all right? They're not going to care about the things of society, okay? You get a quick precept on that, is 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15, okay? And it says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Okay, and this is actually twofold right here, because it said the love of the Father is not in him. So when you jump all the way to verse 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3, right? Because it said, for this is the love of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, that we keep his commandment, and his commandments are not grievous. See, and that goes back, and that word grievous goes back into burden. All right, so it's a twofold. So when you cast your burden, basically the cares of this world, all of these things that matter in this world, that's a heavy burden to try to uphold. Okay, when you cast it off and put it on your Habashim Yahushai, then that weight becomes lifted. Okay, and then you have uphold, and basically you're gonna obey, your Habashim Yahushai, and the commandments of your Habashim Yahushai is not a grievance. It's not a burden to keep those commandments. This is why we have that, that upbeat, that quiet confidence about ourselves. The hope we let is because, we're being pleasing, and we're seeking to please Yahweh Shem Yahushai every single day, every chance we get. Okay? So his commandments are not grievous, and we love Yahweh Shem Yahushai for that. We constantly praise Yahweh Shem Yahushai, right? And that's another characteristic you're going to consistently see with the hopeful let and those individuals who cast their burdens onto the Lord. Okay, they're going to be thankful. Which we before most brothers, before they start their lesson, they say call halal Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash, which is basically giving all praise. All right, so that's their praise is rejoicing in the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. So that's a thankful greeting of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Okay, another characteristic is endurance. All right, they're going to endure hardness as a good soldier. That's a quick precept, right? Just loosely paraphrasing it. They're going to endure hardness as a soldier. Okay, so it's just a quick lesson that I wanted to put out. Lord willing, Yahweh Radazah, I'll be able to put like maybe part 2 or part 3 of these lessons. Kind of going into the different characteristics. Okay, but overall, they're going to be trusting, basically, and why within their trust, when they cast their burden, it's going to be peaceful. Okay, they're going to be obedient, right, and they're going to be patient, and they're also going to have faith. Okay, so overall, that's what casting your burdens onto the Lord, how about you shall represent. Those are the characteristics you're going to see, specifically the hopefully elect. Hopefully, we are part of that number, part of the elect that's going to consistently uphold those characteristics that you're going to see, when you cast your burdens onto the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So, that's just a quick lesson. Lord willing, this is edifying. With that, I'm going to give all praise and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem Kakadash. I want to give double honor to the elder apostles and elder bishop, a great millstone, who rule well in teaching us the truth, 100% securely. Shalom, shalom, Kwam Yasharala, shalom.